Shadow of the Tomb Raider is on the list of games that support DLSS. Do you think the feral version will support that?
Oh, fuck no. And welcome back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, NVIDIA, they've released a 20 series card that almost resembles something reasonably priced, unless you just picked up a 1070 Ti, because if you did, you mad. And Valve has issued a tsunami of back pens in December. Just can't imagine. For what reason?
Unity reminds us of the dangers of proprietary software, and Epic wants to fork out the cash to make things right. And people who make ugly games can say some beautiful things, which is one way to get on this show.
Valve wants you to buy more DLC, so they copy-pasted the curator site template and changed the title. And NVIDIA drops the F-bomb. Not the one you'd think.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm Old Man Vin, here at LGC Actual, hanging out in the infinite redness in the bunker. It's not a bunker anymore. I'm back up on the second story. Joined by, Jordan, why is that alarm clock going off?
I didn't even hear the alarm clock. That's the problem.
And all the way on the island, that is Pedro Tates.
Hello.
Together with him down there, that's right, Shot Realm Dynamic, helping us form that last most special bid known as Cocaine Ultra. Before we get started, we do like to see, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on in each other's sexy lives. Jordan, this is my original theory as to your sleeping, because you were commenting last night. You're like, man, then I was playing the game and the sun came up.
Maybe that had something to do with it. My sleep cycle is completely messed up. I don't know. Yeah, no. I decided, you know what? Into the Breach is like $15 on the Switch. I'm gonna pick it up. And then I spent like 2 days straight hunched over on my couch playing it. Trying to grind achievements to unlock all the various mechs. So that's definitely a thing. I sort of foresaw that being a problem. I may have spent at one point about 2 hours on the toilet, not actually pooping, but just playing Into the Breach.
All right. Could you fucking walk after that, or were you like, okay, we got to do this in stages?
No, yeah, there's definitely. Oh yeah, no. I tried to stand up and my legs are asleep. We had one of those. Also, I got one of these today. That's fun. Callus got ripped off.
Oh, the dreaded oversleeping callus. Those things.
I mean, that was from a 400-pound deadlift. That wasn't from sleeping.
Impressive sleep lifting.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I could sleep lift. That'd be fucked up.
What's up, Pedro?
Yeah, over here, I'm very glad that I get to, quote unquote, work from home next week. It's a course I have to take on Windows Server. But hey, it's the advantage that I get to do it from home, so that I'm happy. Wow. Okay, I'm happy.
Apparently, you're not. Your body's rejecting the Windows.
It's frightening, man.
Yeah.
What's going on there? So, all right. I learned something about myself the other day.
Okay.
Now, Jordan, do you remember your dreams?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Pedro?
No.
I think Pedro and I have discussed this. Like, you will wake up with like a vague concept and maybe some bullshit, like mental.
It's like
state.
I remember being scared, but that's about it.
Like urgency or something. I remembered two things. I think this had to have been Thursday. I woke up and like the fuzzy mental image of like whatever it was like a light, like a cone light. You know, you'd see like on that 70s lamp, you know, the twisty lamps and shit like that. Poltergeist like floating, like heading towards me. And the concept behind it was diving at it in its direction, screaming, smash that Fright button, fam. Which bothers me for this other reason, because I am well aware my conscious mind is defective in the fact that by the time it's like, you know, we could probably die. Right? It's like, little late. It is genuinely just a little bit worrying. You know, that's also part of it's defective in the subconscious as well.
Oh, yes. Smash the Fright button.
Smash that Fright button, Fab.
I think your subconscious was trying to tell you something. What it is?
I like this. We should like come up with an actual Fright button.
No.
Hit that Fright button.
How about we smash that horse button, Fab?
we can hit the horse button.
All right. Tell me about it.
It's the button where you press it and the vocal effects go off, and I say it's the Steam Linux update.
Boom. Check it out, man. Valve has banned a gang, maybe even a whole record.
A
number of players. Yes, a moose of players.
A significant amount of people.
Yes. A centimoose. Yeah,
hey man,
it's
if
metric.
you know about it, anti-cheat vac ban, it's a thing. You know, when you cheat, I was like, you're being bad. 600,000 vac bans. They threw that down in December. That's more than not 600,000. Norse 3 put it up on the Twitters, and he's like, hey man, vac bans in December, biggest number in a month ever. There were like 5 vac waves just throughout the month. The vast majority of the vac bans are for, you guessed it, what free to play? CSGO.
Yep.
More difficult to know the origin. It's just CSGO, 100%. Yeah, that's what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. Like what I'm interested in is what's the ratio of like accounts to individuals, right? Like how many of these are like someone set up about like 50 or so Smurf accounts and all those got nuked.
Mm-hmm.
There's bound to be some of those.
Yeah, I mean that's really the consequence of going free to play, right? Like there's not really getting banned isn't that big a deal because I can always create a new email address and register for a new Steam account and like I can still play the game. I think you just need to pay for the game if you want to get like loot boxes, right? For Counter-Strike. Was that the thing?
Yeah, it's that. You have to put some time into it.
Yeah. Yeah, so which I mean, if you're a cheaty McBitch face, then it's and you insist on staying true to that course, then with the free to play Counter-Strike, it's really easy to get up and running after you get banned. So
yeah, and it's Counter-Strike. It's the 3rd most popular game on Steam. That's a pretty big target. So you make that free to play, and all the hack kitties come out to play, and then they get banned.
This is true, but one has to just imagine that Valve knew this was going to happen. So I'm half joking, but only half, that CSGO going free to play was just a way to tune up VAC, to train it a bit.
I'm sure
I would
was
100%
a part
believe
of that.
I believe that's a component of it. I've been applying for some positions to a couple of machine learning places, and it reminded me that like these people are effectively like servants of the AI that they created. So VAC's all like, feed me more bad players so I can ban them, and Gabe's like, yes, Master VAC. Yeah,
it's a very good way to train the algorithm. It's like, okay, so we make this game free to play, and we get to learn about all these new cheats, and then it becomes a better product. Yeah,
probably a good time to be selling cheats for CSGO, though.
Oh yeah.
All right, maybe you can get some DLC. Is there DLC for CSGO?
No.
I think that's all like Steam
specifically.
items.
Yeah. You get the boxes, and then you can buy keys, but those are in the marketplace. And this one is actually DLC. And if you have a Steam group, and if you have set up the curator page, you immediately recognize that particular layout. And that's basically what Valve did. They introduced a DLC page where you can basically see all the DLC in a much neater fashion, and it even allows developers to create specific lists. Let's say you only want cosmetic DLC. They can make a list for just cosmetic DLC, and if you want DLC for actual stuff that gets put in the game if you pay extra, then they can separate that. Of course, it's all up to the developers because Valve ain't doing shit, so take that for what you will. But one thing they didn't add was the buy all the DLC for this game I don't already own button, because if you do that, it would put it would put people in a position where they just go, fuck it, and just buy all the DLC that they don't currently own during a sale.
Pedro, they do that every time there's a sale. You're like, oh, buy this.
Yeah, but they don't have that.
It's true, and like, so I mean, this page is like clearly for the benefit of games that have a metric fuck ton of DLC, like your Rocket Leagues or your train simulators. Or I didn't realize that Fantasy Grounds, which is a virtual tabletop for playing Dungeons and Dragons and shit, had so many modules.
1166
I think it's like
DLCs.
Yeah, I think it's the leader in terms of like how much DLC there is. So I think like having a buy all button there would be like, hey man, you wanna dump a couple grand on Fantasy Grounds? Here you go.
Well, that happens sometimes, man. You'll be looking at, and it's like, oh, let's see deal. Jesus.
Yeah. Borderlands 2 is egregious in that respect.
Or Payday. Payday has
Payday. Yeah,
so bad.
Payday is brutal, 100%. I don't know. I don't buy. I'm not against buying DLC. The only DLC I know is if we've been given it by developers or it was like included in the purchase price.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like a lot of the Feral games for like the larger titles have like all the DLC baked in.
Right.
Or
yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of that consequence, the hidden pros of Linux gaming is by the time you're able to buy the game, all the DLCs out, and you can just scoop it up for one price.
Yeah.
Benefits of gaming on Linux. All right. We got a couple of game updates.
Yes, we do. And the first one comes from, well, maybe a place where you really wouldn't expect it to have a Battle Royale mod. It's Stardew Valley. It's Stardew Valley got itself a Battle Royale mode. It's got loot chests, it's got weapons, it's got basically players being dicks to other players. And yeah, it's basically what if Fortnite was a Stardew Valley mod, because that's what it is. You get to build things and you get to steal other people's horses because you're a dick like that.
GTA motherfucker.
Yeah, it's a battle royale mode that currently doesn't have a whole lot of people. The mod author says that the cap is probably at 100 players, but they haven't had those many people playing the game at that point with that mod installed to actually test it. So yeah, hopefully more people will sign up, and that mod can actually become a real boy, so to speak.
So that said, here's the thing. There's like a number of Stardew Valley isms that are a little strange. Like, this is a game where you can give people, if you give someone enough mayonnaise, they will fall in love with you. And I wish they would sort of incorporate that into the Battle Royale mode.
Real life, sweetheart.
Exactly. You give them some mayonnaise, some mayo flavored ice cream, and it's the way to anyone's heart.
Brilliant.
Or at least a way to close everyone's heart. Yeah, but I mean, like, it's fun to joke about. It's like, oh yeah, even the fucking fuck around Stardew Valley simulator gets a Battle Royale mod. I just think the joke's a little tired now, because literally everything has a fucking Battle Royale mode.
Well, it took us a minute to realize last night when we were playing Super Tux Kart. You're like, wait a minute, this is a Battle Royale mode.
I mean, like Mario Kart had that mode, so that's like nothing new.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a multiplayer game with modding tools. It was inevitable, I guess.
I'm just looking for like I'm waiting for like the hardcore erotic, what is Stardew Valley mod that's allowed on Steam now, because they're just straight up allowing porn. So
Sakura Valley.
Yeah, give folks mayonnaise in the sexy way.
Terrifying. Not as terrifying as spooky zombies and games. Hey man, this is one of our contenders for still an early access. Really? Question mark. 7 Days to Die, the survival horde crafting. Yes, zombie craft. This was still a thing when this game had initially launched, but Alpha 17.1 Experiment Build 8 is out, and they want you to test it. As a Linux user, what you're thinking, you're like, all right, what's new here? What do I care about? Well, last time we reported on this, they added an option for Vulkan, which you can still enable, and it still won't fucking work. It's kind of brilliant like that. Very reliable. And they fixed a lot of stuff in-game. The OpenGL render is still pretty atrocious because there's not a lot going on in this game. And with a 1700 powered by a 980, it at 1080p, it struggles to hit 60 with, not everything all the way cranked up. However, with this new recent beta, it wouldn't load one of my old save games. So I was like, I'll generate a new world. We have a new winner. This takes the crown from Deus Ex. Holy fuck, why is this thing taking so long to load? Divided. No. 7 Days to Die clocked in because it tells you. Because I was going to ballpark this. 7 minutes and 8 seconds on a 1700 NVMe to generate. I mean, I genuinely fucked off. Made some tea. Came back. Fucked off again. Came back, sit down, and was like, I'm going to wait this out. Open top. It got to that. I was like, are you?
Yeah, is this process doing something? I mean, like, speaking of Linux, when we get like the big change logs, we always do the Control F Linux thing. And under known issues, there was a great little bit. Some Linux users experience problems, and that was like poignant. That like cut to my core, man. Yeah, man, I got some problems.
Too close to home.
Yeah, man.
That's spot on.
7 days to die, man. I feel like personally attacked.
Oh shit, that's our spin-off. 7 Dates to Die.
7 dates to die. You go on 7 dates with either me, Pedro, or Ven, and then
it's a romance simulator, man.
Yeah,
come on,
and if you die, you win because you don't have to go on any more dates with us.
Right?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I can't. Even if 7 Days to Die ever comes out, in a finished status, which it never will, I can't help but feel like, much like DayZ, the chance that this game had is long gone. Unless they take so long, it gets to the point where history repeats itself, and DayZ and, that type of survival game from back in the day becomes popular again. That's when they release it.
Well, the other thing too is like I'm pretty sure there is at least enough people who have fell victim to the sunk cost fallacy here that they're just going to keep on playing 7 Days to Die because they enjoy it or they enjoy what the potential of it could be. Well, it's like any of these games, like Sea of Thieves, like it's still active after like it fell out of the public consciousness. People are still playing it. So
no, some people just like the jam, man, and last year we were able to put a bow on Distance. We were talking about that in the pre-super shows.
Yes.
And that was 6 years, man.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Perpetual development. It's still a thing. Okay, tell me about volcanoids.
So, volcanoids or volcanoids, however you want to say it, because it's it's a survival style game like the ones.
It's about laser structures. Get it right.
No, see, that's actually the core of a volcano being mined for its resources, because yes, it's one of those games. Think your arcs and your rusts.
It clearly states right here, laser structures.
Yes, there's also laser structures. That's the new feature, along with, of course, Linux support. And it's, I was looking at it, and I looked at the screenshots, and I looked at the trailer. It's like, oh, it's Ark, but with the steampunk influence. Okay, cool. So, yeah, you're dropped into a volcanic island, and you have to mine it for resources and survive. And there are mechanized enemies going about, like your standard androids or some more grotesque looking type of situations, and it's all very steampunky, and it all looks very Savage Lands.
I'm going to be 100% with you.
So no Man's Volcano.
When I saw this, I thought, sir, you're being steampunked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the less popular Ashton Kutcher spinoff after Punked.
It was so good.
It's basically what if Savage Lands was steampunky and futuristic in its scope? That's basically what they're going for here, and it may work. I don't know.
I like the drill. The drill train thing looks pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. But I mean, yeah, it's basically looks like Pedro said, like an Ark clone, but with steampunk and a volcano. No, yeah, straight up No Man's Volcano.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this. Optional Vulkan
Ooh.
support.
Okay, that
So,
may be worth the thing when it's out of early access.
Is that code for busted Vulcan support?
No, listen, that's code for I fucking hope it runs better than it did in that trailer they shot.
Yes. But yeah, it is. It's not available yet, and they say that when it is available, it'll come out in early access. So it remains to be seen how much they're going to be charging for this, because it could be interesting. Who knows?
Indeed.
All right,
All
few
right.
games.
All right, so Smith, not Smith and Wesson. It's Smith and Winston. I keep fucking that up. Anyways, it's a open world exploration based twin stick shooter. It's in early access right now. You can pick it up for about $11. And like here's the thing, right? Like this game kind of looks butt ugly with like all this voxel art, and I mean the voxels are there on purpose. You know, people don't accidentally voxel, but the entire idea here is that everything in the environment is destructible. So
So it's like I hate running backwards.
a little bit, yeah. The reason we're talking about this though is that the guy who made this game put out a little bit of a blog post that's preaching the true. And yeah, he has a game on Steam. It's available. It supports Linux, and he provides his reasons why he supports Linux. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more in the news section. I mean, so I think the game looks really, really ugly with the voxel art, but some of the level design is really cool, like the layered islands that you can sort of explore.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, it's got an adventure thing to it. It's not just flat pew pew. And all right, it requires 4,096 megabytes of RAM.
Yes,
because running 4 gigs
but
is
not if
way
you have
too mainstream.
NVIDIA 1050 GTX.
Oh, recommended no RAM.
if you can just run it on the 1050's RAM.
Yeah, that's how it works. Hey, it looks all right. It's priced to sell. Was it like $9?
Yeah, 11 Canadian, so it's like 9 American or whatever.
Yeah,
£719.
$719. That's worse than $496, Pedro. It's worse than $496. Hypermoon River.
Yeah, so the first thing I thought when I saw this game is this reminds me a lot like a lot of Hyperlight Drifter or Hyperlight Drifter, which I've been watching a playthrough of on the Completionist channel, and holy shit, there's like a lot of stuff I missed on my first go through of that game.
Man, you better be careful comparing it to that, because Pedro will say, "Well, once it gets 60 frames per second, I'll finish playing it."
I tried. Hey, I did like 4 episodes of it. And it started crashing a lot. That's why I stopped.
I know, people are finally starting to watch it.
Yeah, but yeah, so there's more of an emphasis on room changing puzzles and teleportation. You got to go from like room A to room B to solve puzzles in other rooms and open up doors so you can solve other puzzles in other rooms. According to most of the Steam comments, the game itself is only about 2 hours long, but given the fact that
oh hell, like you get this far into the trailer, I thought you were the beam of light. Fuck, edit better.
Yeah. But yeah, for $5 for like a 2-hour experience, I'm fine with games doing that. It's just a shame that like that just falls right under the Steam refund policy, because like you can make a game that has like a fairly short limited scope that you can complete in 2 hours. That's like a legitimate thing you can do. And unfortunately, Valve kind of punishes the developers, because you know people can just play the game for 2 hours, finish it, and then return it.
Well, I mean, people who enjoy it are not going to return it. The people who are going to return it would return it anyway. It wouldn't matter if it's a 20-hour game; they would screech in at 1 hour 59 and like, oh, there's enough of that. Maybe,
indeed.
I just,
Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about Trends. Funhouse. What is it? For 2 to 5 players, Trends is the one and only game powered by the internet. Bullshit. Calling it on. Players pit search terms against each other. Each other is not hyphenated. I'm being a grammar Nazi. To see which is more highly ranked by search traffic. This is fucking Google Feud in a game.
Yep.
That you can download. But hey, it's free. I think maybe we might try it in the after show. Bruce Leroy. No. Lauren Sisters. I have no idea how it plays or even if we can play it. What are your thoughts on this, gentlemen?
I mean, it's based on like search results, I guess. I don't know. Like, yeah, the summation of Google Feud, the standalone client, seems to be fairly concise.
And it's on Steam. I mean, Google Feud isn't on Steam, so it is very much just like, oh, Steam people don't know about Google Feud, so we're gonna do that.
Oh my god! I just had like this horrid notion of like, yeah, let's package Google Feud with like a 1 gigabyte Chrome runtime and stick it on Steam.
You know,
Oof.
I've downloaded this. I have not looked. If that is not, Chromium in there, I would be like, yeah, all right. All right.
So someone over-engineered, like, this is just like C++ and SDL2. Someone, like, really cared about the code quality of this game.
Yeah, all right. Go check it out. We might cock around with it.
It is free, yeah.
Yep. Cheap as free.
That's the thing.
All right, cool. Coming up next, oh my god, it's such a gossip-heavy news segment. There's lots to dish about girlfriends, so stay tuned.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know what the hell that was about, you should go back and watch the full unedited thing. Before we get to the news, we'd just like to say a big thank you to everyone who's been supporting us on the Patreons.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get confused.
List.
Not a thank you, a big thank you.
Yes. How dare you think that you give us money and we give you content in return? I mean, if you're one of those crazy people who believes that, then you can head on over to LinuxGameCast.com. Yeah, click that support button, and help support the weekly injection of content onto your chest.
Button.
Yeah, smash that Fright button, fam. Yeah, we got Amazon affiliate links. We got Humble affiliate links. I made an order on Amazon recently, and for once, I freaking remember to use our affiliate link.
That makes one.
Yeah.
Hey, I do it all the time.
You should too. You can get something nice for yourself, and we get a little bit of support on the side.
UK orders. I could tell that Pedro now lives in the UK on that app.
Yeah. But you know, all the cool kids head on over to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast.
Yeah, before they do that, they go.
Oh right, yeah, we have a store. I keep forgetting that.
Me too.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we got a wonderful Linux Gamecast store. You can't buy coffee mugs anymore, but you can get like mouse pads or hoodies or T-shirts, and maybe they'll show up all messed up.
Hey,
you might get a collector's item. Maybe they'll show up
something I'm working on. Something I'm working on. I got to pass the designs around a Hell Elk shirt.
Ooh. Indeed.
Oh, yes.
Awesome. I'm gonna get me one of those.
But you were talking about the best of the best.
Yes, the Patreons, the lovely people who give us money week in and week out in exchange for, well, this. We got a bunch of cool stuff available for our Patreons. Access to the Discord channel. Yet you can play Super Text Art with us on Fridays if you want. Get some early access to some of the other videos and other content we put out, and of course you get access to the show notes. So you can watch the sausage getting made week in and week out. You also get access to the pre super shows and the special podcast that I was not on this week because I was sleeping.
Hey, we just celebrated our 100th episode of the pre super shows, and that's available in your custom RSS feed. If you're a patron, you don't know about that, and you're like, hey man, I want to listen to another hour of this audio nightmare. You can do it. Get your feed, type it in, and there's also a video component. So if you want to watch it, we record the video for whatever reason. It's there if you want to watch it. And
there's absolutely nothing special about the 100th episode.
No. Like, no. Here's how special it was. I was like, oh, that was our 100th. And that was like Sunday afternoon when I was posting it.
We've done this 100 times. God damn, we're stupid.
It was kind of a thing, man. But definitely come in, say hi in Discord. And that's where we hang out the other 6 days a week. It's kind of awesome. We got live audio for everyone there, and you can participate in the creep shows because we cut that channel on live. I do want to say, it is definitely one of the spookiest places on earth, filled with awesome people. But this coming Friday, too lazy to do the echo. We're bringing back something Pedro and I started billions of years ago, like a few months back. Meet the Freemans. One thing we never did. And I'm like, what's Meet the Freemans? It's Half-Life 2 multiplayer. That's not right, Vin. Yes, it is. That's going to crash a lot. Yes, it will.
Yep.
Yeah. It's Half-Life 2 with a Synergy mod. You already have Half-Life 2, man. Just check in your library. It's there. Don't worry about it. Synergy mod. It's free. We can Usually, I think we'll start with 6. We might try 8 because around eight people, multiplayer starts getting crashy. But we're not going through Half-Life 2 again. We're going through Half-Life 2, the custom-made maps, just for synergy. So I think we'll have better success.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think these levels are designed for more than one person? You're wrong.
Oh.
Yeah. But we got some folks we got to thank as well. Mr. Amish and Matthew F are our newest patrons who are making this possible. I don't know if they're in Discord right now,
They're
as
awesome.
I scroll frantically to see if they are. But yeah, they're awesome, sexy people, and you should go on dates with them. Yeah.
Indeed. What do you got Thursday's locked down with Borderlands now, right?
Yeah, we're gonna run through Borderlands 2 till its completion. Afterwards, we're looking at another one, Pulsar Lost Colony. It's an early access game, but it's another one of these ship simulators. We're gonna try and get that working. Yeah,
that'll be pretty neat. And big question marks next to when Pedro plays things. You normally find out like 3-4 hours before he does it on Tuesdays.
Yeah, usually when the thing about the live show shows up on YouTube, that's when you know, because that's when I decided, basically.
It's really good. Make your plans around that. 4:30 Tuesdays. It's kind of brilliant.
Yeah, it's usually at around that time I will be playing a video game.
And soon you'll be playing it new, FreeSync hotness, but not because you bought a AMD card.
No, I did not buy an AMD card, but turns out that NVIDIA is doing something a bit naughty. Naughty in a good way. So they finally, after years of people screaming at them, it's like, why don't you just support it? It's an open API. You can do it. Well, they will. They will be enabling FreeSync support on their G-Sync compatible video cards in the future. They don't say when yet, but the CES happened this week, so yeah, the announcement came that they were enabling some FreeSync monitors out of the box if you have a GPU that supports it.
I like that. Look at that.
Yeah, there's a blinky
Beautiful.
there.
Yes.
You can hardly tell. Hardly tell.
But they say right now they're only going to certify the monitors that have a VRR window, variable refresh rate window, within the same specification that G-Sync already supports, but they will also be enabling it, or they will also let people enable it to test their own monitors. And I am very, very looking forward to that. I don't know when the Linux drivers will support it, but it would be nice to see.
I'm sure there's already some X-Randor option for like enabling variable refresh rate, because I mean it's cooked into the HTML 2.1 specification, and that's honestly what FreeSync uses. Yeah. I look forward though to like $100 Amazon FreeSync monitors just catching fire and exploding. Like Nvidia set some kill bid. It's like, oh, you should have paid $2,000 for
more
G-Sync
so than
monitor.
normal.
Now you gotta go fork out more money for another.
This does come
monitor.
just in time with FreeSync showing up in kernel 5.0.
Indeed.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I think like if you've bought a monitor recently, they tend to just add FreeSync to them, like the Samsung one I'm staring at right now, which is not directly, which doesn't have the camera mounted on it. So
You get a FreeSync. You get a FreeSync.
Yeah.
But I personally believe it's going to be something of a delightful shit show, because as Jordan was saying, vendors are often ones to just slap FreeSync on basically anything, up to including, I think, Pedro, I wasn't exaggerating, because I looked up a monitor and I found one that had variable refresh from 50 to 70 hertz. And Pedro's like, wait a minute, I can do one better.
Yeah, no, because as it turns out, my LG 24UD58 supports FreeSync between 40 and 60 hertz. Yeah, I still want to try it.
Beast. But if you want to try that, you might want to try it on this new hotness from NVIDIA.
Oh.
That's right. Welcome to the NVIDIA. Sent us a check. No, they didn't. But anyway, they did send everyone a bit of information about their 2060. And they get a little bit of review. What is it? Well, it's kind of affordable, man. Unfortunately, I know what you're thinking. You're like, welcome to 2019, where the short bus GPUs clock in at $350. And you'd be right. But this is going to let you get a taste of the 2060, well, the 20 series goodness. You're going to get, I don't know how many gigaflop rays or whatever. Not enough to be useful on anything, maybe at 640 by 480. But the Founders Edition, 349 is going to get you basically a 2070. And if you overclock at not a 2070, a 1070, and overclocked about a 1070 Ti, which I think that's kind of neat. To me, it's got one 8-pin on the back, so reasonable power consumptions.
So does my 1080.
It's got what streamers crave, 100%. I was having a hell of a time justifying spending company money on a 2070 because it's a fucking $500 card. But this is viable because it lets you get a hold of the new NV encoder, that hotness, which looks good. And they just came out and they're like, yo, man, we're going to talk about that in a minute. That's going to get good for everybody. And it'll also do solid 1080p gaming. Now it only has 6 gigajoules of video memory. RAM.
No.
So I don't know, man. However, yeah, if you bought a 1070 Ti, go find the receipt.
Yeah, it's probably time to return it.
I was so glad when the 2080 came out. I'm like, man, I really hope there's something wrong with it so I can feel secure in my purchase.
No, as it turns out, the 2080 is basically a 1080 Ti with tensor cores.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's apparently tensor cores are made out of diamond dust and unicorn farts, which explains why the one game out there that supports it is why the video cards are stupidly expensive and run like shit. Yeah, it's
RTX hate on.
It's kind of pointless nowadays, unless, well, we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, it's generational price increase, as the PC Gamer article. Don't worry, links in the show notes as usual. You could get when the 1060 with 6 gigabytes came out, it had an MSRP of $250, and this is another $100 on top of that. So mainstream is getting expensive nowadays.
I think this is sort of the same thing we saw with hard drive prices after the flooding in Thailand or Taiwan. Just because, people are now used to the idea of like dropping $350 to like $400 on a mid-range. I mean, the 2060 is like upper mid-range GPU, and like why would they reduce the price now? Like they know that people will pay for it.
Well, they don't necessarily have options. We'll be talking about that in a minute. But I was thinking about, I have the 980, and I bought that like maybe 3 months after it came out. And that was a $500 card. And 2019, $500 will buy you a 2070, not a 2080. No, not a 2080 Ti.
No.
However, we'll get us a 2060, then I'm going to be doing it. Our streams are going to start looking really good. And on that topic, that's right. We're going to finish caching that NVIDIA check. Optimize OBS and RTX encoder enables pro quality broadcasting on a single PC. Yeah, man. Basically, if this is legit and they're not fudging any numbers, this is going to turn NV encoder into effectively, it's going to make it shadow play for OBS, which is really, really fucking cool, man. Our streams are going to start looking a whole lot nicer. And if you're going to mix this in, I saw Cheese was doing some work. It'll be in the next version of OBS to make all the video encoders work right, so I don't have to get all dodgy with that. But it's also going to work with older cards, like the 10 series.
Ooh. I like the sound of that. I like getting free stuff.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if Pedro's going to follow on the notes where you're supposed to come in.
Well, it is. Currently, the only selling points for a 20 series card are the improved NV encoder, or you really want to buy a 2080 Ti because currently it's the fastest, arguably consumer-grade GPU on the market. So yeah, it's either one or the other. There's really no other point to buying the 2060, 2070, or 2080 since the 10 series cards are already there and are about the same price or slightly cheaper. So,
Well,
yeah,
I mean, it definitely lowers the barrier of entry for people who are looking to get into streaming, though, because you can get like a what we're calling moderately priced now, but moderately priced video card with dedicated encoder hardware. And I mean, it's good to see that like NVIDIA is not completely giving the middle finger to some open source projects and are like working with OBS, because they could have just easily announced this. Oh yeah, this is exclusive with XSplit, which is on Windows only. Go fuck yourself, Linux users.
Hey man, you could be jelly of the DLSS master race all you want.
I'm just gonna spread me on a cracker because I'm so jelly.
I don't know.
Yeah. And apparently there's like one.
Listen, this thing I guarantee you.
There's one Linux game that supports it, which is Ark, Survival of Old. Although the NVIDIA drivers for Linux, I believe, still don't support DLSS, but I'm sure it will in time. That's just a matter of time.
It will. Then we got the Proton and the 25 games that currently do support DLSS.
Of which only like half actually work in Proton, but yes.
See, Pedro's trying to be technically right, but he walked out and he's like, there's only one game ever that... And I was like, here's a fucking list.
Yeah, no, it's like Truckee saying that the BBC never put out any good quality stuff.
Right.
When the DLSS first came out, and I went checking on which games on that were, you know, compatible with Proton actually supported DLSS, and there was one, which was Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. And yeah,
Hitman
apparently
2
there's
works
more
under
now.
Proton and no, because I tried it.
So here's the real impressive though on the link that you have in the show notes. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is on the list of games that support DLSS. Do you think the Feral version will support that?
Oh fuck no.
That's going to one of the first things that gets immediately chopped off.
This is why we need that button valve.
Yes.
Yeah.
The button. Push the button, Frank.
It's a happy button. All right. Good news.
Let's talk
news,
about
everyone.
AMD.
Fuck NVIDIA, AMD, all the way, baby. They blowed us out of the way. They totally announced 7nm Navi for like $150. No, they didn't, man.
No, they didn't.
They shared some information on the Radeon 7, the details. It kind of looks like the Vega 2. This is not Navi. It's out. Ish. I think it comes out next month is the first time you can buy it. 16 gigajoules of video memory RAM. That's kind of pretty impressive, man. 64 ROP. The reports of 128 ROP design were made by multiple well-regarded sites. Anyway, Kind of neat, man. I mean, this is 7nm and base clock 1450, boost clock 1800. Pretty happy with it. And they say, yo, this thing is totes going to compete with the 2080, which I'm like, all right, an affordable 2080, that you have my attention. So what do I have to pay for this 2080 killer? They're like,
the same price that you would for a 2080.
Like, how about $799? And I'm like, you know what? That's a great bargain. If I couldn't get a 2080 for less than $799. Wait a minute, let me go. Oh, wait. I can get a 2080 for less than $799 AMD. What the fuck?
I mean, like the one of the interesting things that showed up on this article that I think they've actually since removed was some bullshit AMD chart about some synthetic tests that they ran that compare Open DirectX and Vulkan performance on some of these cards. And the big one was that Vulkan performance was supposedly, according to the AMD marketing bullshit, a lot higher.
Yeah, the last one. It was the last one of the graph that they showed. Yeah.
And I mean, we've all been burned by AMD marketing before. I think a bunch of us bought Bulldozer CPUs expecting them to, you know, not suck as much as they did, and then they just completely ate ass. But it spells some interesting things for like DXVK, right? Because if you're gonna be able to squeeze some additional performance out of Vulkan, then that might be able to improve the performance gap between stuff running through DXVK versus native. Which I think a lot of Radeon fanboys / Linux users like Monster Cameron would be very excited for.
Yeah, the big thing, yeah, it's AMD. They have a spotty track record when releasing new hardware at the best of times, and with Ryzen they did it right because they said, okay, so you have the Ryzen 1700 and the 1700X for about $300. And if that was a very good thing. I mean, they sold it at a lower price because I'm pretty sure if they had priced it at the same price as the 7700 and the 7700K, no one would have bought them. So, yeah. And when it comes to GPUs, it's even worse because you had Raja Kaduri when he was working for AMD, going up on stage and saying, what was it? The RX 480s in Crossfire will outperform a 1080. And then they didn't. Clearly not. So pricing or announcing a new video card that you say will compete with a 2080 at the exact same MSRP as said 2080, which is coming from NVIDIA, which has pretty much proven themselves in the performance field. Yeah. No.
I don't know. This did not give anyone the happy feels, and I know some people. I mean, I'm definitely grumpy because I wanted the adored TV bullshit rumors, which that was great. I had to watch his video after that. He's like, "Well, I know why they didn't release it, but more on that." And I was, get bent. You missed that. The chiplet design for the new Ryzens, that looks interesting, especially at the power consumption. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, I definitely wanted to see those rumored 7nm, Navi cards that competed with a 1080 for, $300. What about one of those?
Yeah, I mean, AMD has like historically positioned themselves as the cheaper alternative to NVIDIA and Intel, and we were all kind of hoping for the much lower price point,
right?
And it's always disappointing. I mean, like that's the thing. We gotta wait for the real world test once people actually get their hands on the cards, and we can see what performance looks like.
Definitely gotta think about a positive, like absolute 100% missed opportunity, because I'm sure there were more people than just me going, okay, NVIDIA just dropped that. AMD's opening CES with a keynote, first one ever. What do you got for me? $800? Hi, it's like go running back to NVIDIA. I was like, all right, it's a relationship of convenience, but it's still a relationship.
Yeah, and it's even like coworker Dave. He saw the announcement and is like, "Yeah, no, I'm just going to spend $500 and get a 2070 instead," because he, along with me and just about everyone else, we were waiting for the Navi, the cheaper, like 1080 performance type of situation. That would have been great, AMD. That would have been great.
I mean, the other thing too is like, at least for like our perspective here, if AMD came out with like a Navi card, that's like, oh yeah, we got our own dedicated encoder hardware that will do effectively the same thing that NVEnc would do. I think that'd also turn a lot of heads.
But it's a chief EC. It's an open standard.
North Ranger brings out a thing, with the HBM2, 16 gigs of that, which that's ridiculous. And it's like, what, Ren? It's meant for creators. And I was like, then why the fuck are you shipping 3 games with it?
But yeah, no, that 1 terabyte of memory bandwidth on the GPU is interesting, but not $700 interesting. Sorry.
All right, up next.
Up next, we have Project Borealis. You may know it. It's it will be a game at some point that will attempt to recreate the supposed Half-Life 2 Episode 3, what came at some point, or what was supposed to come at some point. And before they release anything to do with the project themselves, with the project itself,
they put a bunch of shapes and shit.
Yeah, they did. They basically released a performance test, which is a teeny tiny little benchmark of how you can expect your hardware to perform in their current version of the Unreal Engine build that they're working on. And boy, that's not good.
Hey, it's Unreal Engine 4. It runs Vulkan. I ran the critter, and I guess 3840, because fuck all if I can find a way to set resolution with a 980. It runs like poo.
Yes, with a 1080, it runs like poo.
Bonus soda.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to run this through. I had meant to, but then I'd slept through it. With the 1080 Ti to see what that looked like. Also because like getting feedback for this project would be good. Hopefully they could take that and take what the end result data and
Well,
maybe tune their engine, make an Unreal Engine 4 game on Linux that does not run like complete and utter dog shit. That would be nice.
Listen, what this test was. Let's see what happens when we hit export.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it is because Vulkan at 3840 by 2160 on my end with the 1080 and the Ryzen 1600, it averaged 36 FERPs.
Well, you think, all right, Vulkan custom tailored. When I think Vulkan 3840 2160 on a 980, maintaining solid 60 with everything cranked the fuck up, sure as fuck more than a bunch of shapes thrown in a fuck mothering room. I'm thinking Serious Sam. I'm thinking Talos Principle holding 60. That's what Vulkan can do.
I'm
then
thinking
they also
like Doom
include-
running through DXVK or not
Also,
even through
that
DXVK.
meant
Also,
this shit.
yes.
Yeah, out of the box, Unreal Engine 4, that default Vulkan shit can't even count a potato, man.
Yeah, and to that point, they also included OpenGL test, which if you click on it, on my end, I got 87 FERPs on average. So yeah, that shit's broken.
I mean, like this was always the thing though. Like if you're gonna use Vulkan in your project, you have to be willing to like dig deep and like actually do all the
Learn.
boilerplate shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like that's the thing. OpenGL. The driver does a lot of the work for you. Vulkan's more like, hey man, you got to do it yourself. And if you're not willing to put in the work, then you're going to get kind of crappy performance. Vulkan is not a magic wand or a magical button that will make your game run well.
All right, tap that export button, fam. Let's give it to him.
Oh yeah. Speaking of hitting export, flip it. In more fallout from that blog post from that one guy we talked about last week.
Twitter post, but sure.
Microblog, Twitter, whatever. So Flibit has finally been motivated to put this together. This is recycled from a previous post he made about examining dependencies in games and being conscious about the libraries that you're using. So the short version is, you can read this links in the show notes, and it's actually a very good read. But the short version is, don't assume more than a basic C library in OpenGL. Build your own goddamn libraries and ship them with the goddamn game. Make sure that the libraries that you do use don't have a zillion freaking dependencies, so you don't have to build and ship as many libraries, and be conscious of what your existing libraries will depend on. Use SDL because it only requires the basic C library and it will make your life easier. Why wouldn't you freaking use it at this point? Use Mojo setup for the installer because it's generic, and DOS to Unix is your friend. And this is all like very good development advice, and it's something that a lot of people don't use or a lot of people don't follow through with because they expect, oh yeah, no, Unreal will solve all these problems for me, or Unity will solve all these problems for me, or using Tool X will solve all these problems for me. And it's not true. You can over reliance on frameworks increases the total number of dependencies that you have to deal with and makes debugging things a lot more difficult. So starting from scratch and being conscious of these will make maintaining and porting your game significantly easier. Period.
Yeah. And if every Windows game out there already ships its own version of DirectX, Visual C, .NET, and whatever the fuck else, stands to reason that you probably want to be doing something similar on Linux. If anything, Valve actually gives you a bit of leeway in that by providing a rather comprehensive runtime to target, and still people bitch about fragmentation. Though I will concede that that particular runtime that Valve provides does cause some issues with the Mesa drivers, so I will give them that. But basically, Flibit's post, and he does say you should. He's always used Mojo setup, but yeah, the way he describes everything, that's basically an app image. That's Flibit saying, yeah, ship your games as an app image. Completely self-contained, includes all the dependencies that you may need, except for the drivers to interact with a video card, obviously. But everything that the game needs to work outside of the base system, it's all in there. That's what you should be doing.
Now, we'll talk about this a little bit later, Pedro. But there's another developer that has, let's call it, a more cracktastic view on this. But that's on the next story. Yes, that was a trip down the rabbit hole. But I don't know, Ben. What do you think about Flibit's blog post here?
Hey man, this is just the true. I mean, it might be hard to swallow, but good on him. But I definitely want to get to our next thing because this motherfucker straight up told people to get off his lawn.
Indeed. The next one is a blog post from Execution Unit. You might remember from such games as Smith and Winston, the game that we were talking about earlier.
Wilson
kind of looks ugly,
Smith
but
and Wilson.
Wilson, whatever. Winston. But yeah. Jeez. But yeah, he basically says that
here's where I knew I loved this man. Machines and VMs. I was like, this better. Yep, that's going the way I need it to. Good.
Yep. But yeah, what's funny is this is a blog post from a BSD user who typically are very notoriously anti-Linux. But he's talking about how setting up proper build infrastructure and running your code through a bunch of different compilers with all the warnings turned to 11 will ultimately produce better quality code because you're catching issues. And even if you only plan on really supporting one platform, catching bugs on other platforms and given specific C runtimes will often just fix your code in general because you're addressing all of these problems. Maybe LLVM or whatever is doing some weird workaround that kills performance. But that's exposed as a warning from some other compiler. But yeah, he talks a bit about the various monopoly promoting stuff that Microsoft has done. The fact that in having open platform support is good because it doesn't mean you're putting all your eggs in one basket. And it's really nice to, unlike the Twitter post from last week, someone who actually knows what the fuck they're talking about weighing in with an opinion.
100%. I mean, it absolutely fills me with the warm fuzzies when actual developers like Flibit, IckyBots, and now this dude, he's one of my new heroes, come out and go, listen, man, incompetence is not something you get to blame Linux for. I mean, Linux has its problems. Blame those real problems, but don't spout ill-informed bullshit as your reason. I can't Linux. Just say I can't Linux, bro. Or say, hey, I don't want to deal with Linux. I want to deal with the support. Give us, real reasons. And I'll be like, all right, man, I feel you. I don't like it. I don't agree with you, but I feel you.
Yeah, and if you compare like this particular blog post to, I have provided a link in the show notes to Jonathan Blow's tirade of madness on Twitter, where he basically says that everyone should basically write their own OS in an effort to get away from Windows, is the better alternative than using Linux because fragmentation.
Well, it's not even that. Like this is very from the beginning. This is very clearly a developer who apparently doesn't really understand how operating systems or applications work. Because he's saying shit like, oh, you know what? Maybe like Linus had made sure that the Linux kernel is stable, so we should just write games directly on the kernel and not depend on things like libc. And like, oh, I don't know how to force the kernel to do 3D rendering, but I'm sure there's a way to do it. And like, this tirade continues for about like 16 to 20 Twitter posts.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of them.
It just illustrates the point that like, how has this guy made a game? He clearly does not understand how computers work.
Hey man, I for one have found out
reasonably
very
successful
recently,
games.
yeah, that people who haven't released anything in over half a decade got a lot to say. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it at that because we need to talk about disunity.
Ooh,
Oh, yes. So there was a bit of a slap fight in between Unity and Improbable, the people in charge of Spatial OS. If you're wondering what the hell a Spatial OS is, it's basically a system that allows you to run multiplayer servers, MMO servers, have your game hosted on a cloud service, and then just stream it to a client. And Unity, being Unity, they are claiming that Improbable has published a blog post regarding their relationship with Unity that is incorrect. And then they proceed to explain why from their point of view, and they also proceed to explain the big point of contention that people had, which was the fact that Unity changed their terms of service about a month ago when, this started to happen and it came out and people started to be aware of it. So Unity says that they changed those terms of service to make them more clear as to why that bit of the TOS was there, but yeah, it's basically Unity saying, if you are doing a cloud streaming service or a multiplayer service that supports Unity and has a bit of the runtime in the server away from the local client, then you need to pay extra, or you need to work out an agreement with us before you actually ship the Unity engine. And yeah, Improbable didn't want to do that.
Well, that kind of seems how it rolled out, man. I mean, you know, I could be wrong, but reading through this kind of reads like, hey, we tried to work out a deal with these guys. They didn't subscribe to our thing, and womp womp, boom, nuke it from orbit. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a whiff of this, and the point of contention was that if you it's not that you need additional licenses to like run your own Unity game server, because apparently the end user license agreement allows you to like host your game server on GCP or Amazon or Azure or whatever the hell you want. The problem here was that was that Improbable was offering essentially this as a service. They were saying, hey, we'll handle all the server portion of your MMO, because SpatialOS is an API service or whatever to create MMOs. They said, oh, you know, we'll handle scaling, we'll handle builds, we'll do all this stuff for you. And Unity's like, you know what? We're going to say that this is like another platform, because we never really intended for our software to be used in such a way. And if you're going to do that, you know, you gotta give us some money. And this has been in the works for a year. Apparently, Unity was aware that Improbable was doing this, gave them a warning, and they did not do anything about it. So Unity takes the you could say rather draconian step of disabling their Unity licenses so they can no longer use the Unity Pro features or legally support Unity. Now, Unity has put, part of this blog post is Unity has said, you know, if you're using SpatialOS, this will not affect you. You will not be impacted by this if you have a game in development or
but you better email us.
Yes,
Yeah.
but like again, yeah, considering the fact that the people running the service can no longer support that particular portion of the service, yeah, you should probably get in touch with Unity to understand what is actually happening.
You might. And I do want to say, to Unity's credit, they gave them a full year to bend the knee.
Yeah,
indeed.
And this is Unity wanting to make money and SpatialOS not wanting to pay. It seems rather clear cut, although the shady bit is Unity then altering the terms of service, and that's when people kind of threw like their heads up. It's like, what are you doing?
So
But,
here's the thing, though, Pedro. This is what you get for using proprietary software. You do not have any rights. This is what happens when you license software. Do something that, and a lot of these license agreements say that, you know, Unity or whoever can change the license at any time because we're the ones fucking making the damn thing. So this is exactly the case of it. You did something that we didn't think of. We think it's a good idea, but since you're using our technology and this shit isn't free, you got to give us money.
Well, you know, let's be honest with each other. Really, we're going to keep on dragging this out?
If you're an indie game developer, Unity is not your friend. That's all I wanted to say.
Because I really think that they knew Unity was going to throw down. You know, I think they absolutely had advance notice, because yeah, less than 24 hours later, Epic Games like, yo, we got this deal put together totally last second.
Yes. Yeah, if Unity has positioned themselves as not the friend of indie developers, Epic is trying to get in there and be like, yo, baby, you want that rebound? I got you. But yeah, Epic and Improbable have announced that they're putting together a $25 million fund to help game.
Well, it was already put together.
Yeah,
yes.
This is true, and Epic has been doling out, I think, what they earmarked like $1 billion or something over the course of a couple of years to give to developers. Yeah, but this is basically Unity or Unreal's like, or Epic's like, you know what, we'll pay you to port to our engine now. You don't like this, you don't like the shit that Unity pulled. We'll help ease that transition. And I mean, it does tie into the broader ploy of getting as many people on their store as possible. Yo, man, we gave you funding to help port your game, put it on our store, and we'll take our 12% cut or whatever. And that's really what this move is. This isn't generosity on Epic's part. This is wanting people
some free PR, baby.
Yep, exactly. Unity done goofed, and Epic's all like, yo, man, we're here to catch you when you fall.
We're cool. We love you. Hey, you got to look at it this way, though, man. One thing now, Unreal Engine 4 is a bit more of a nightmare to work with than Unity. I don't think anyone would argue that who's sane. However, that's something I think needs to be pointed out. The way Unreal Engine 4 is put together, any change in the terms of service doesn't retroactively apply to previous versions.
Yeah.
So they can't go back and skullfuck you retroactively, which that's like, all right, maybe that's something to keep considered. And even old Sweeney Todd's like, hey, he even gives Godot a mention. You know, it's like, hey, man, check that out. That's important.
And, you know, Epic, for all their faults, they actually made the Unity engine source available. Calling it open source.
Unreal Engine, not Unity.
Yes, Unreal Engine.
They broke into the Unity warehouse and stole the source code.
They made the Unreal Engine source available. And Unity, it wasn't until Epic did that they went, oh, maybe we should do something like that. And yeah, it's basically, this is Tim Sweeney and Spatial OS getting into bed together and say, let's capitalize on Unity trying to be money-grubbing bitches.
Well, here's the other sad thing to bring it back to the whole Linux gaming thing. I'm just sad that a bunch of these games now won't have native Linux versions because they can't export and get something reasonably working via Unity as opposed to Unreal, which will produce poop.
He really likes open source as long as he can benefit from it, and it doesn't rhyme with Linux. Hey, we're talking about Unreal a lot, so let's talk about a very Unreal offer.
Yeah, completely unrelated to Unreal, as it were. You may remember that Bloodstained Ritual of the Night has recently announced that they would not be bringing out Linux or Mac versions of the game that they promised on their Kickstarter would totally have a Linux or Mac version. Well, someone created in their forum, a topic to ask whether or not they should give refunds because they
100% they should.
They outright refused to issue refunds, and they said that if you wanted to, you could change your platform. But people weren't happy with that, obviously. And this thread went along.
You gotta think it wasn't just Linux, man. It was Linux and Mac dead. Have your choice of platform.
Windows or the consoles.
You go buy a Windows license or go buy a console. These are your options. But refunds totally out of the question. That's unreasonable.
Yeah.
No.
So
I just want to say there's a lot of stuff in this forum about like, oh well, if you're going to offer refunds, then people who aren't using Linux will just try and get their money back. I'm like, I don't think it works that way.
Yeah, that's not how it works. But yeah, no, this thread went on for like a page and a half until Mr. Ben Romer, known as Broren in their forums, who was a backer of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, basically offered to port their game. And if you don't know who Ben Romer is, he's a kernel developer at Canonical. That's Linux kernel developer.
Offering
to port...
He's following the Jonathan Blow method of game programming, write it directly on the kernel.
Basically, he's offering to do the developer's job for them and port their game for free. This is the point where we learn whether or not this no Linux and no Mac thing was ineptitude or unwillingness, depending on what they decide to do.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, my first thought with this was something Skullgirls, and of course Ronald Lepage from Skullgirls.
Yes.
Like, where have I heard this before? And yeah, that's definitely a thing. Jordan, you said it kind of worked though, right?
I mean, it sort of worked for Civic. He was doing some work for that company. He at least got the engine ported. So what was it? Indomitable or what? It was
Indivisible.
Indivisible. There you go. Yeah, Indivisible will get a Linux version just because all the work has been done in the engine. But yeah, that's someone posted. Yeah, Rohit basically said it in chat. You really shouldn't offer to port things for free, right? It sort of devalues Linux support then.
It kind of does. I get where he's coming from though. He's like, listen, well, you know. Because something I put in the notes is like, this is something you also need to keep in mind. And I just like, Ben, you suck by saying this, but this is very true. Porting it does not equal supporting it. So you might end up with something that runs for a hot minute And if something goes wrong, library changes, something like that, you're dealing with a company that actively is like, fuck off with Linux. So you're going to be stuck with a broke build.
But and again, that sort of goes hand in hand with what I'm saying with devaluing Linux support, because people like Ethan or Iculus, they do good work, and they should be paid for it. You shouldn't do anything for free or for exposure. It's just bad business. And again, like putting out this idea that, oh, we don't have to support Linux, Valve will do it, or someone from our community will volunteer to port it, and they'll put in about 50 grand worth of like professional quality labor, and for nothing, and we don't have to pay them. So why should we?
Well, they can do this. I mean, you got to look at this from the whole take of there's two things to extract from offering to do this. One, hey, good, it's good free PR for Canonical. Yeah, it is. Two, if he's going to be doing that, this could just be a straight up, listen, motherfuckers, why don't you just come out and say, fuck Linux? That's what I want you to do. I'll offer to do it for free. Now you got to, come on, say it.
Yeah, no, that was my thing in the notes. It's like, is it ineptitude or is it unwillingness? It's basically a kernel developer calling out a game developer saying, so what's the issue? What exactly is the issue?
And the clean cut, well, it's middleware, Pedro. This is kind of honestly him going, that's bullshit. We all know that's bullshit. Yeah. I want to prove that that's bullshit. Show me this middleware of yours that doesn't work. Which I don't like it. Like Skullgirls straight up. We're still like, they delivered eventually. But only after going, we listen, we didn't really mean the Linux stretch goal to be real. Come on, guys. But they finally made good on that. This, I'm not feeling it. This game is already in development hell. So, wow. Before
it's
we get
another Kickstarter game in development hell.
Who was it? Smashly that pointed out there's a Unreal Engine game for Linux. A Story About My Uncle is free.
Yes.
If you're listening to this, I just wanted to throw that in there on Steam.
It was free on Humble, and now it's free on Steam.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, A Story About My Uncle sounds like some sort of really fucked up psychological horror game involving. Yeah. All right. Speaking of psychological horror, coming up next, you too can pretend to be Octodad at a business environment. If you want to deal with Windows spawning in random locations. Welcome to the Chairquisition, where normally we worship chairs, but this week we're worshiping a tentacle. Chairquisition's where we take a game, we tell you if it launches, how the performance is, how the graphics are, and how it controls. And I just apparently entered puberty. So, after we go through all that technical mumbo jumbo, we will give you a score from 1 to 4 chairs based on how we felt about the game. This week we're taking a look at Godly Court by TR8 Taurus Studios, developed on Unity. You could pick it up for about $8 to $9 of your particular local currency. And what is it? As an intern in an intergalactic corporation managing the universe, use your tentacle to perform unusual office tasks and try not to destroy all life on the planets you look after. Every day brings completely new challenges. Expect everything: chainsaw robots, bug infestations, space trips, and more. The devs sent us some keys for this over Curator Connect a while ago, I think while the game was still in early access. So now we're finally taking a look at it. Thanks a lot, TR8 Taurus Studios. But to get into the nitty-gritty on Ubuntu, how'd it work, Vin?
Over here on the 1804 LTS Ryzen 1700 980 powered UHD displayed by luck, and I do mean luck, ladies and gentlemen, it launches somewhere between my UHD monitor, my 1080p monitor. Unfortunately, I can cheese my way into the resolution options and kind of get it in full screen where I can play it. From there, and get everything set and sit down and play a game until I launch it again because it remembers fuck all options. Nope, not having that. So prepare that every single time you launch. Performance at 1080p, 60. No issues there. 3840, no issues there. I mean, look at it. It's a basic game. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It looks as good as any VR fuck around game, if there ever was one. However, it kind of looks like rubbish by default when it initially launches, because it's like 640 by 480, no AA or anything like that, which wouldn't be a problem if you didn't have to reset those resolutions and the AA settings and the full screen settings after cheesing all that every single damn time you launch the game. Controls, I mean, come on. you're a tentacle. That kind of controls like a cocaine-infused penis, but still a tentacle nonetheless. But I gotta fault it on the graphics, having to change that every time. You need to save that, and on the launching for having to cheese my way into the menu of a game that is launched in the middle of 2 monitors. Jay, baby.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just spawns its window wherever the hell it feels like it, regardless of how you set it up. It even straight up ignores the Unity prefs file, which is super annoying. I tested this on the laptop running the R7 2700U with its corresponding Vega 11 GPU, as well as the i7 6700K with the GTX 1080 Ti, both running Fedora 28 and 29. And yeah, it doesn't really seem to save your game progress either, which is also very annoying because you have to go through all the fucking challenges again. I just couldn't. Performance-wise, it's V-stuck at either 30 or 60 frames a second, your choice. And even on the Ryzen APU, it maintains 60 and doesn't run like complete and utter shit. Graphics-wise, it does look like complete and utter shit, but again, this is... What do you expect? This is like some sort of low effort type stuff that, I mean, it's there to be like, aha, you're a tentacle doing tentacle stuff. That's kind of the point of the game. And control wise, yeah, you thought Surgeon Simulator was bad. Clearly, you've never been touched by his noodly appendage, but it does work. You can move your tentacle in and out, and it's supposed to control like shit. That's kind of part of the game, so I can't really fault it for it. I'll give it 3 chairs for the workiness. What about you, Pedro?
Yeah, it launches in the middle of my 3 screens in a UHD-sized window every goddamn time. It doesn't remember any settings. Though I will give it that on the Ryzen 5 1600 and GTX 1080, it holds 60 at UHD, which is more than Surgeon Simulator could do at 1080p. So that's a bonus. The graphics, yeah, they work. It may not remember any settings, but the graphics work. So the controls, both WASD and the arrow keys, were properly bound to spin the little planet thingy around that you have on your desk. So I can't really fault it for that. So as far as I'm concerned, it gets 3 chairs.
All right. Well, there you go. It has technical issues, and it's broken on all operating systems, but you can still play the game. But did you have fun playing it then?
Do you ever think to yourself, what if Octodad was handy capable? Well, Godly Corp is going to answer that question, like it or not. At its core, you know, this is your classic fuck-around physics simulator. The spin? Question mark? Well, you're an intern. In a corporation, it's your job to complete random tasks assigned to you by a developer who really, really, really like GLaDOS. Yeah, you kind of get that vibe with your instructions. It's hella rough around the edges, but it's not bad if you like, you know, Sturgeon Simulator and the like. You can see some ideas and mechanics that definitely have promise, but they need to be fleshed out. Not a bit more, a lot more. But you know what? None of this matters, because if you have more than 1 monitor, in 2019 who doesn't, this critter gets refunded shortly after you launch it, followed by the realization that not even the press file can unfuck this nonsense. Test yo shite, developers. Fail 1 chair.
Yeah. I always wondered what happens if you gave Octodad a gun, and the sort of answers the question. I mean, yeah, it's a, like Vin said, it's a fuck around simulator. There's no real point. There's no real effort or nuanced game design here. It's more
Remember
like
the Little Inferno?
Yeah,
yes.
See, Little Inferno had an actual gameplay component to it because
didn't.
like
You just threw shit in a fire and watched it burn.
Yeah. I actually got pretty far in Little Inferno. I ended up playing that for a while.
How could you not?
I know, you just burn shit. But anyways, yeah. There's no real like desire here for like good high quality gameplay. It's just like, oh look, it's a tentacle. It's supposed to be shitty. Ha 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 ha. And you know, therein lies the rub. I don't care, and the game doesn't really give me any incentive to care, especially when I can't like put the game down and come back later without starting from scratch. This is actually the level where I gave up, just because like I had a hard time wrapping around all the various things and pumping it. I'm just like, I've lost my ability to care about this game. I got a good laugh like in the previous level when the robots show up. You're like, oh no, robot invaders! Here's a gun. Defend your post. But
that was
after
the bit
that,
I was telling you about.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure there's like some more jokes like that later on in the game. But I just don't have the patience or the ability to give a shit in order to, pull this off. It's just a lot of non-consequential dicking around. And I like my dicking around to have some level of consequence. I'll give it 1 share.
Yeah, it's Surgeon Simulator, but the play field changes every time. The fuckery also goes up a notch every damn time. The level after this one that you're looking at right now, there's like no gravity. And you have to build one of the teeny tiny planets instead of already having one on your desk. And at the same time, you have to shoot asteroids that are coming down to the planet that you just took off from. And there's no gravity, so all of the parts and everything that's on your desk is flying all over the screen. And yeah, basically at one point I had everything right up against the camera and I couldn't see anything. So I basically had to use my tentacle as a windscreen wiper. At that point I could actually see the game again. But all of this to say that it's not a terrible game. It's not the kind of game I would play by myself, but it would certainly be fun to load this particular game when, say, you have people over and you just let them have it. It's like, okay, try to figure this one out. If, it worked properly, because by the time you launch it, yeah, it's bad. I'll give it 2 shares based solely on the fact that, yes, it does work and it could be fun if you can, hide it away from people as it's launching and then just move it to the right place on the screen. It's like, yeah, there you go. But yeah, it needs some work.
Yeah, it's great practice if you're worried that you're ever going to end up in like a Harlan Ellison novel. But beyond that, not very good. Ben, you have any final thoughts?
Basically, here's the thing. If this was still in early access, I would still give it shit. You got a fun concept here. You got, the whole Cthulhu mythos and just, you got some good ideas, but you got a game that doesn't save progress, doesn't launch correctly, and doesn't remember any settings. So that's too fucked to be charging money for. Pro tip.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, coming up next, we get the rare in a series of follow-up hate mails, clarifying a question from last week. So prepare for yourself for that.
If you'd like to get in touch with us for some reason, after what you've just heard for this whole show, yes, after tea, after your siesta, you can do so by going to LinuxGameCast.com, hitting the contact button, and making sure to pick LGC Weekly from the little choosy box, and then filling out the form. We will be happy to feature your question right here under the caveat that if we can find the answer to your question in the first page of Google, you don't get featured. Or if you're a game developer and you're trying to promote your game and you don't send us 3 keys, we will not feature your thing either. Does that sound fair?
No.
Well,
I think somebody should write fucking War and Peace to us.
Yeah, just copy paste War and Peace from OpenBiblio or whatever to send to hate mail. I wonder if Bradley could even take that. Fuck up our database.
Probably.
All right, we got a reply from Steven. He sent us some hate mail last week asking about streaming.
Screaming?
And he says, "Hello all. To further my previous message, I will attempt to better explain myself. Thanks for taking the time to respond in the last show. I was indeed attempting to use Steam and home streaming with an NVIDIA GPU from a Linux host to a Steam Link or the NVIDIA Shield TV with Steam Link app. I initially failed to get this to work on Ubuntu 18.04 using the 415 drivers and the graphics driver 2PA. These drivers appear to be a must for any experiments with Proton and DXVK. I then proceeded to take a detour with CUDA and a mistaken belief that CUDA was to blame for a failure. Blah blah blah. My non-default aspects might be that I'm using the Ubuntu Mate desktop. I have the Marco adaptive compositor enabled. Games run fine, and I wired the house with 1 gigabyte. It's just so keen to get this working from Jordan and his comments and general confusion. It sounds like this should just work, so I'm stuck as to what I've screwed up. Is there anything to tweak, and has anyone seen a situation similar to this? Do you disable compositors? I always run OpenGL compositors, or just leave everything at package defaults. Can't think what else it might be. Loathes to switch from Mate as it works well. Thanks again. You do a good job, although I'm sure you'd hate to read that out loud. We absolutely do.
Ow.
I haven't used Marco, the
Polo.
Have any of you? I know you fuck around with compositors a lot, Pedro.
Marco?
Yes. Polo.
So
Wait a minute. Why are one of my legs shorter? What?
one of the things about the Mate desktop and Ubuntu Mate specifically is it comes preloaded with Mate Tweak, and you have several different options when it comes to compositors. And I actually brought up the compositor last week as it being one of the possible reasons as to why it wasn't showing you the game and was instead showing you the desktop. So yeah, the Marco Adaptive Compositor is basically the new version of the Mate software compositor. So you may want to give Compton or Compiz a try. Those are the other two options that you get in Mate Tweak. Those will probably let you see if the compositor is the issue. That will fix it. If the compositor is not the issue, I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it like before we assumed that he was like just seeing a black screen, but if the window itself is not coming up on the Steam link, because again, Steam in home streaming is literally just like hardware accelerated VNC. If you minimize the game, you can totally just access your desktop via Steam.
Do you know something I learned about Steam the other day?
Oh, yeah?
If I might have known this and forgotten about it, if you hit the Steam button on the Steam controller and you have like a PS4 X-Clone plugged in, you can take control of the mouse with the D-pad on the Xbox controller. Yeah, I was like, all right.
You can do it with the touch bar on the DualShock as well. It's pretty handy.
Hot.
But based on what you're mentioning, probably switch to Compton and see if that works. Because again, like I was doing something similar with the Steam Link app on this tablet. There, it's in frame now. And yeah, it kind of just worked as long as all the firewall rules were appropriately set. And if you're able to establish the connection, then it's probably not a networking issue.
Right.
Yeah, and if you're on Ubuntu, Firewall D is not running by default, so that shouldn't even be an issue for you. And if you can already see your desktop, then chances are you're already streaming. It's just that it's not capturing the correct layer.
I'm going to say pro tip, make things simple on yourself. Sudo apt install xfce4 space Compton. I'm dead serious. And go to startup and make sure you launch Compton. That
xfce4 desktop
space
or
Compton.
Ubuntu desktop.
Nope,
yes.
just xfce4. It's Ubuntu, baby.
Yeah.
There's no desktop.
I mean, I just like how does Ubuntu do package groups? Is that a thing in apps?
Yes.
It does.
Yes, it does.
But the only two things you need to install if you want like a full desktop is you just type xfce4 space xfce4 goodies. Done.
Yeah. Because
there's
what
no
do you call
desktop, other bullshit, and that'll give you the entire package.
At least on Fedora, like doing or DNF group install xfce4.
Oh yeah, group installs is like when I think of Fedora, but I don't know the hell I'm talking about. I've never used the thing.
Yeah. But yeah. So there you go. Fuck around with your compositor. Maybe get back to us. Maybe I don't know if you have access to our Discord channel, but you can maybe try posting in our IRC channel. Maybe someone will be able to help you. That
Indeed.
can sit down and like work through the issues. Maybe we got a lot of very, I don't want to say intelligent, but
technically minded people.
Yeah,
we're determined people.
Yes. so someone in our community might be able to help you out. So yeah, give them a holler.
All
and
right.
Thanks for the hit mail. Yeah.
Because on that bombshell, cue that music. You could always find us around 9:30 Eastern Standard Moon Time when it's not Eastern Standard nap time like it almost was tonight.
Oh, yeah.
At Vin Stone, old man Vin, you know me, you love me. At Vin Stone on Twitter, somewhere on Mastodon, mast.linuxgamecast.com. It's not the porn site you deserve, but it's the one you get.
Yeah, I'm Jordan. You can find me just posting Zeds over and over again on all the various social medias, at The Burning Fool on Twitter, at Frojo, at mast.linuxgamecast.com, or plus Jordan Svung on Google Plus until April. Because I'm ride or die with that. I'll be the last user on there.
That's going away anytime now. And I am Pedro Matos. You can find me at @accounted4 on Twitter or at @accounted4 on Mastodon. That's mast.linuxgamecast.com. I don't go there very often, if I'm honest. I really don't.
Well, gentlemen, lads, Did we learn anything other than how many alarms did you set, Jordan?
I learned I need to set a second alarm.
Second alarm. That and
you were banking on the one.
Sending you messages and not replying you. We were trying to wake you up through push notifications to know.
Basically, yeah.
Oh no, that's straight up not gonna work. No. Like, yeah, I saw the alerts. Like, you definitely tried. I'll give you credit for that. But what do you call it? My push notification alerts are just vibrates. They're not like noises.
Might want to flip the go button on that one.
Yeah, put something really, really loud.
No, see,
Like
I did that when I was working 24/7 on call, and like now I get like micro heart attacks every time I hear one of those.
Ding dong.
Yeah, put one of those. Put that whatever ringtone you had during that time.
Nope.
Put that as your notification ringtone.
Oh man, like I was sitting on a bus and someone else was using that fucking ringtone like a year after I quit that job, and I heard it and I'm like, fuck, it's time to triage shit. Wait, no, it's not.
Human beings and sound. Holy shit, Mike G has gotten us 10 items off the wish list.
Mike G's the fucking undisputed champion, man.
Holy shit.
There's not even enough shit on our wish list now to for someone to catch up.
See, I'm looking forward to when like Mike G just buys us a house.
There we go. Dad fire, everyone. We love you.
Bye.
We need to. You got to give us a V, Jordan. Then we can do the GNU. Wait, other way. Wait.
Oh wait, no, I gotta do the Captain GNU thing and like go through my legs. 5 dudes.